Yeah. So these topics presented in this chapter are not just loose thought. These are based on studies, and these are the reference about this question. Is the United States going to be in a 100-year drought? So far, Utah has been in a 20-year drought. But when we look at let's say, the three-ring history, there has been longer droughts than 20 years. There have reached 50 years drought in Utah, across the western US. So where we are now, it's a model. There have been more severe, more prolonged droughts in history. So climate change is this that is ruining not only from the lack of water, but also is throwing away a lot of concepts that we have already developed. For example, we used to build reservoirs that can control 100-year flow return. Now that number might be 30-year flow return. Reduce the capability, the 100-year flow return on these new pattern on weather condition might be more large. So some of our statistics, like we used to do hydrograms, study, okay, this is our hydrogram, we calculate our unit hydrogram by multiply by the factor obtained from precipitation, we can know what's going to be the expected runoff in this phase. But now climate change keeps adding more extreme values to that statistic, that previous numbers are becoming obsolete. So for us, what does it mean? Climate change model suggests as a COVID, mega drought, prolonged, multi-decade method of significant below average precipitation is possible and likely in the American West. And that's the challenge that we as agricultural engineers or irrigation engineers will have to deal with. The questions that we're going to face, like we didn't cover in this class, is the question that we expect to have is like, should I plant this year? It's not how much water can I save, it's like, is the models and the forecast ensuring or telling that I will have my water share for this year or not? And that's a much harder question to solve. Aqua crop can solve that, crop. So that put us in the hydrology realm, and as part of our education, we should look into learning about these snowpack forecast, stream flow forecast, which many canal companies here in the Western US rely to decide how much water every user in the canal company gets. That number every year is off. So far, the forecast, it will depend on the quality of the data. It depends if it's extreme year, like this statistical offsets. So this year is going to be a record wet year for the state of Utah. It's already affecting producers in the state. Not everybody's happy. producers like cattle producers are already being affected by the extra protection or as a cost that they have to have for the cattle to keep up with the weather pattern, or to buy additional hay that they weren't expecting to do. Others, you might have seen this USU extension tweet today that if you are producing grains, be wary of the snow mold. So the winter has been so long that mold is already forming on grain deposits. So we won't have like peace. If it's what year we'll have problem. If it's extremely dry year, we will have problems. So we're going to have these sort of questions, and for that, we will need to go beyond of what we have learned here in this class. This class will help us to decide. For example, if we have a canal company, or we're managing a canal company, and every year by the 1st of April, the state published the official forecast of stream flow or available water for every canal company. That's the official date, the 1st of April. So based on that prediction, every canal company will say, okay, this is our total volume, let's say 1,000 cubic meters for the year. And then they start assigning that water depending on the bylaws of the canal company. Some canal companies combine all the water rights or water shares and split it equally among the users. Others will go by separate. In dry years, these canals that split the water equally among the members might revert to seniority in dry years, leaving the right holders without water. So the questions that we will have to answer are going to be on the realm of the hydrology part, and also on the farmer organization part. How water is distributed among the system, and how much water is forecasted to be for this growing system. Okay, so I say we need to learn new concepts. Here comes the part of those new concepts. So agriculture. Agriculture is always seen with not too happy eyes when it's related to water distribution. Well, let's see the numbers. From the total agricultural land in the planet, 80% is not irrigated, it's rain-fed. So do we have those cases here in Cache Valley? I think there is. There is a hay farm up here in High Park. Yes, it's on a plateau. So there is a really nice trail around there. So they are high, they're above any canal passing by. So they are rain-fed. So like that place, 80% of all the agricultural land in the planet is rain-fed. And only 20% is what requires irrigation. But that 20% produces 40% of the world food supply. So the introduction or the presence of irrigation water allows for a better control or a better supply of the water needs to maximize production. And that's where aqua crop what everything enters. The rain-fed is also another very interesting area because rain-fed is 80%. So as we progress into the years in 2030, 2040, 2050, we'll have to start looking into that 80% and what sort of knowledge and technologies we can use for that 80% that doesn't use irrigation water so its yield production can go up. For example, just to give you an idea, have you heard of snow farming?
Do they do that?
Yes.
Like winter wheat?
Huh?
Like winter wheat?
No. Snow itself. Snow farm.
Is that really like trading clouds?
No, that's cloud seeding. This is a snow farm. Literally, the snow. No, the idea is that it's snow harvest. So here in Utah, we have, I don't know, 1 foot, 2 foot of snow everywhere in the farm. Okay. Now, the concept behind a snow harvest is that you want to minimize the effect of wind taking that snow from your field. You want to keep the 1 or 2 feet of snow layer on your farm so it moists your root zone profile. So for that, you put those barriers that you see when you drive from here to Wyoming. On that highway, we have those windbreakers. So you put that from the most predominant direction of wind in your farm, so you minimize the erosion effect. So you have, as the time moves into January, February, all the locations that have shorter snow layer will evaporate, right? Will evaporate. So you get less contribution of that snow to your root zone. Like this one will keep up. So you put those barriers, or the other type of activities that when they harvest, okay, they leave part of the stem or the trunk of the plant to be like this, like columns retaining the snow. So the core, instead of being harvested up to here, is harvested up to here. So you leave the left, that residual will hold the snow. So this 80%, okay, is going to be one of those areas that you and I will have to start looking with different eyes. We're learning about irrigation as much as with aquacrop and such, but aquacrop, for example, can model no irrigation, like use only the rainfall, or what happens if I just irrigate for a smaller period. So we'll have to become very creative to keep producing more or the same with less resources of water. So things that we ignore up to now, we never talk about snow in this class. So today I'm telling you that there is a called snow that for certain crops it works. So that sort of thinking will be necessary. The other technology, I think we mentioned this early in the class, is agrovoltaics, the combination of solar panels and agriculture. certain crops, alfalfa needs direct sunlight to produce or to grow, to develop the biomass. But other crops like tomatoes, onions, this type of herbs do not can succeed without direct sunlight. So under shade, they could grow. And the profits of this type of vegetation, this type of crop, the margins of profitability might be larger than the alfalfa or might balance the alfalfa. Plus the extra income coming for the electricity production can be a big win in desert areas. Because also when the soil is under shade, so without the direct sunlight, there is less evaporation. So an irrigation event can last longer than in an average farm field. That is right now a major topic of study. There are projects all around the Western US studying what sort of crops, what's your profitability margin, how big your electrical production has to be to have a good income for that producer. So that sort of thinking, we're learning how to manage water, but we will have to think out of the box to deal with the incoming challenges of which is pretty much less water. Fun? Okay. Here is the first concept that I believe you need to learn. The first concept is virtual water. What is virtual water? Well, is the total amount of water that you need to access a product or good. For example, these shoes have used water, or water has been involved in the production of these shoes, from raising the cattle and raising food for the cattle, for the transport of the cattle, the processing of the material, transportation, selling until it reaches my hand. So it's not only the agricultural water part, it's all these additional steps that have used water. So that is the concept here. So is virtual water is the water embedded in goods or services based on water used as an input through the production process. So everything has a virtual water amount connected. So let's see an example here. A sheet of paper, one page, we need 10 liters of water to get that page. For one tomato, we needed 13 liters of water. Or one slice of bread, 40. So our hamburger, 2,400 liters of water. So it's not only the agricultural part of growing the crop. This is the entire process until it reaches your hands. The whole process uses this. So this goes along. So certain things use less water, certain things use larger amount of water. But there are things that are very important, like every country consumes milk, right? Milk for children, milk in drinks and such. So this number is kind of unavoidable, right? But then at the other side, we have our map of water stress. So as you progress in your career, the question is going to be how you balance the production of necessary goods, knowing that the access to that good costs this amount of water if you are in a stress water country or region. Well, what are going to become priorities to produce or to give more emphasis, and others maybe not. So this is my pair of shoes, 8,000 liters of water. So these sort of questions are going to come to us as the water become more scarce. So these things might become priority. Now, so we have countries that are stressed and that are water stressed. We have climate change that will decrease from 30 to 50% available water. We have the virtual water for production of the different things that we use in our day-to-day life. I tried to get the book. This is a book. It's not free. I'm asking the USU to hand the book for me. So here in this figure, figure 5, and I think we're almost at the end of our talk today. We have commerce. And this is the tool that you as an engineer can use to reduce the impact of this production of goods trading. Because this is water consumption per capita, cubic meters per person per year. This is the amount of water we use per country. Where are we? Here. Oh yeah, we have too much stuff. But the thing is that this is all the goods and products that we consume internally, but also what we import from abroad. From Mexico, from avocado from Mexico, from grapes from Chile, and bananas from Ecuador. We have trade. So that helps us. For example, Japan. Japan relies a lot on the trading. The US relies a little. Italy also relies a lot on external commerce, but Japan is the child post here. Without this commerce with other countries to get food and goods, Japan will be considered, yeah, a water scarcity country. Yeah, extreme. So trade, and that's the tool that when the Ministry of Agriculture or the US Department of Agriculture, they are looking at the internal production of the country on grains, on staple crops, to decide to see if this new year, how big is this magnitude of imported goods and products. So this virtual water trade is going to be our major tool to deal with the reduced water supply that we have in our region. We might have to give priority to certain things in the future. We might want to prioritize these parts and minimize some parts, because this can come from outside the country or the region. So water trading is going to become a very important tool to manage the water deficit in every region. But so far as it's used, it doesn't follow a logic. Many countries, for example, here is cotton, for example. A single cotton t-shirt contains 2,700 liters of virtual water. It's a high water. We need a large amount of water for cotton for t-shirt. But India, Pakistan, and Egypt, which are water-stressed countries, are major producers of cotton, right? So how we balance this? How we balance this production of cotton that is important for the economy of Egypt, and there is a long tradition, and Egyptian cotton is well known around the world, with this situation, right? So should we give priority to cotton production and less priority to hamburgers? Okay. So those are the hard decisions that these agencies of government that we might become part of have to make. What the government must give support, what will reduce its support. And it's not an easy, because in any decision, somebody loses. No, there is no win-win. There is always that get hurt. Like if you reduce the support for cotton, you affect a large number of families producing cotton. But if you, let's say, reduce the production of hamburgers, there might be a smaller community, but the cotton producers are secure. Something always gets hurt. But this is something that I do recommend reading. So from a water point of view, we shouldn't be trading water. Like Utah, the example for Utah is alfalfa hay. Alfalfa hay is exported to Japan and Middle East. So we are a region with low water resources, but we're producing hay for the water that took to produce that hay for abroad markets. Does it make sense to do that? That's one question that currently is in the minds of the youth government, the Division 1, its society itself. Is saying, yes, we have alfalfa, and this is one of the arguments. We have alfalfa, but you don't see like hundreds of adult heads in the state. All that is in the state. Why should we keep producing alfalfa? So how we are going to answer that question, or how we can propose an understanding of that? Hydrologists are going to say, no, that water should stay in the basin, in the region, okay? Because that once that water left, is gone. Okay? You cannot recover it. But this trading, this commerce with other countries, like bring you that virtual water of that good, of the bananas, of the meat, of the fruit from those regions to you. So balancing, so as we move into the future, these virtual water and virtual water transfers are going to become more common terms. So Don't forget about that. For the future, yeah, we know that everything that we're discussing is not covering, or what we explain about water trading is not including climate change. And the growth of population is going to increase our needs for goods and products by 15% in 2050. So there's going to be a large demand by the population of access to products, and that if we don't have better irrigation efficiencies, if we don't have an adequate, a close understanding of how water is available and how we distribute it and how we use tools to maximize yield production, the situation is going to deteriorate and water availability will become uncertain. So I really enjoy reading this chapter. I recommend you give it a second look. This virtual water trading has been on the textbooks for decades, but it's just now that is going to be it's like 10 years ago, nobody programmed. You could go through college without programming. Now you code. You want it or not, you code. A bit, a lot, but you code, right? Virtual trading is going to become a concept that is going to become more and more commonplace in college. So don't lose track of it. And that's it. That's my report of the first chapter of the book. Questions? Too clear? All right. Well, I hope you enjoy it. I did enjoy learning about it, learning or recalling these concepts. They're important. They connect us, they help us in an indirect way to connect everything that we have studied with this, the agricultural water at large scale. So we don't have to think at field scale, group of farmers, no, regions, countries, water trade. Okay. All right, guys, that's it for today. Do you have questions about the homework?